something as simple and sweet. She fills me up, breath of life, full of relief. To me, she is.
All right, I'd like to introduce our special guest in the new studio. We have someone that I met at a coffee shop. We were there for hours. She was minding her business. I was minding mine. I'm usually the last one that leaves. But she was sitting there still, doing whatever she was doing on her computer. I think we both had 2 meals. We were there so long.
Yeah, for real.
And I went up to her. I said, "What time are you leaving?" I said, "What time are you leaving?" And she said, I don't know yet." She's probably wondering, why am I asking her why she's leaving? She's a complete stranger. But we got to talking and, got to know each other a little bit. Found out she's an artist. But before she was an artist, she just had some good conversation and she had some thoughts and ideas. And I found out she's also sings and I got to see her music. So I wanted to introduce her and interview her because we touched on some topics that I want to discuss today. And we'll definitely get into that. And she is ready to talk about it. So with no further ado, we'd like to introduce... Oh, how dare I forget? I'm embarrassed. I forgot to introduce my co-host.
Come on.
My best friend, my wife of 16 years. She's with me to support. She's another artist, so we're really going to have a great conversation today. So I'd like to introduce my wife first, Lisa Mentis. And our special guest, Madam X.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me.
All right.
Welcome.
Welcome. So, Madam X.
What's up?
Dallas native, am I right?
Yeah, well, not really. So I was originally born in Pflugerville, Austin, raised in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is like 2 hours outside of Dallas.
Okay.
But I spent majority of my life here in D-Town.
In D-Town.
Yeah.
It's my first time hearing it called D-Town.
Yeah, Triple D.
Because Detroit is called D-Town too.
Really?
Oh, no, sorry. Sorry, Detroit.
No disrespect.
The D. is
The
what-
D.
The D. Are you from the D? And hopefully I'm not disrespecting Detroit because I think that's what they say, the D.
Hey.
Or maybe D-Town. But anyways, we're in Dallas. That's what's important right now.
And you
right?
said Triple D.
Yeah.
What's the Triple D about?
I don't know, to be honest. I've heard Dallas be called that, like Triple D, and so it's like, okay, cool.
You just accepted it? You didn't want to ask why?
Go with it.
Wow, I did. I did just accept it and didn't ask why. I was like, okay, cool, Triple D,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Triple D,
It's
yeah.
a great question, though.
She had other things to do. That wasn't that important at the time.
Right. She's just all respect. That's what you want to be called? Okay.
So, Madam X, we're going to get into you and why your name is Madam X. Where did that come from?
So the X is from my birth name, and my birth name's Xavier. And so Madam was a nickname that my family would call me all the time, and just because originally my first artist name was Simone B. But a close friend of mine would hear my family call me Madam. They just started calling me Madam X. And I was like, at first I was really offended because I was like, don't do that. Like, and because at that time, only like my family and like people who I'm really close to could call me Madam. Oh. So when she was like, Madam X, I was like, yo, chill, like, relax. And then eventually I was like, Madam X, like, that's a bomb stage name. And then I just started calling myself Madam X, and it was from there.
So now it's okay for people to call you Madam X.
And it's so weird too, because when people will, because my family still calls me Madam, and when people call me Madam, they'll be like, hey, what's up, Madam? And I'll be like, whoa, like, hey, what's up, how are you? You know what I mean? Like, I have to remember, like, it's Madam X, like, relax.
Did you feel like, because only your family was calling you Madam,
Right.
so when an outsider called you Madam, it was like, you're an outsider, why are you calling me something like an insider?
Yeah. Like intrusive. But it's like
you don't know me
exactly. But it's
Yeah.
like that's your stage name, X. So like,
Yeah.
Shawty.
Okay, all right.
So that means you're close to your family.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to it with my family. It's me, my mom, my sister. I'm really close to my aunt, my 2 cousins, my dad. And then there's, your outside family. I'm close to some people in my outside family, but not that close. Not as close as I am, obviously, with my immediate family. Is that how you say it? Yeah.
Immediate family. Mm-hmm. And where did you get in the inspiration? Like, when did you start singing? Like, when did that come about? You singing as a young girl? And
yeah. So I grew up in the church back home in Wichita.
Okay.
My great-grandmother would ask me to get up and go sing in front of the church, and I would be like, no, Grandma, like, stop. And she'd be like, go. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, okay. And so started singing there. I didn't really sing in, like, elementary school or stuff like that. Then when I got to middle school, I joined the choir. When I got to high school, I went to a magnet school. So a magnet school is like we had robotics, theater, we had culinary, we had mathematics, I believe. But it was just like I started in theater magnet. So I would do plays, I would do put on productions, stuff like that.
At what age?
At 14.
Oh, okay.
Started at 14. And then I also joined the choir and started, getting involved in that. And then once I graduated high school, I really just stepped away from music. If it wasn't me.
But before you went on to stepping out of music, when you were in the choir, is that when you realized you could sing, or did you know you could sing before?
That's what I was going to ask. When did you realize I could sing?
Or you could sing?
I could sing. I could sing.
It was when I was younger, definitely. Because I started songwriting at 11. And yeah, and I guess since I was a little girl in church, probably around 6 or 7, because originally I grew up partially deaf, and so I had to, because I think it was like my ear canal was too small, so I had to have surgery and everything like that. So, but my mom would tell me, she was like, it's wild because even though you're partially deaf, you couldn't talk for anything. She was like, but you could sing perfect pitch. And I was like, at that age, like, I don't know what that is. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, right? But yeah, it wasn't until like probably 6 or 7 when I really started to realize, oh, I'm good at this,
Because you had people like, sing, go ahead and sing, and like, crowd around you and stuff like that. Is that
and affirming it. And it was like, when I got to 4th grade, I did 4th grade talent show, and I sung Aretha Franklin Respect.
But did someone have to say, hey, you should do the talent show? Or were you like, I'm doing the talent show?
I was like, I'm going to do the talent show.
Oh, okay. So you had confidence.
Yeah. And so I sung Aretha Franklin Respect, and my art teacher.
That's big.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Mr. Norman. Cool people. Till this day. Like, so for senior year in high school, I'm not sure if they do it like anywhere else, but here in Dallas, when it's your senior year, you'll do like a meetup of everyone who you graduated elementary school with, right? And you guys will have a senior breakfast with all your old teachers from elementary school and everything of that nature.
Wow.
Yeah. And so Mr. Norman came, and he was like, he was like, I still remember when you sung Aretha Franklin Respect. And I was like, that was in 4th grade. And he was like, I still remember it. You should do it again. But it was cool. You know what I mean?
So sweet.
Yeah, so that was like the beginning.
That's a big song, too.
Have you performed that song after that?
I haven't actually.
Really?
Wow, no.
Oh, that's going to be on your list.
No, facts.
Yeah.
Do you have the video of when you did it?
No, I don't.
That would have been dope.
Okay. And it's wild because a lot of the songs that I sing now are like more laid back and chill. However, I have the range to sing those hitters, to sing those powerful songs. I've just never tapped into it. Well, I wouldn't say never. I just don't tap into it that often.
Were you nervous when you performed on stage at 4th grade?
Pretty sure. Because
you were by yourself.
Yeah. And when I just remember like stepping onto the stage and like seeing a whole crowd of people, and I was like, whoa, like this is a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just started, and when I finished, I just remember hearing applause. But like, it wasn't like oh yeah, it was like, oh my God, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
that wasn't recorded?
No,
Shoot.
not from my knowledge.
That would have been nice.
If anybody out there has the recording,
ask Mr. What's his name?
Mr. Norman.
Mr. Norman, please reach out.
Facts.
No, that's great. So you were going saying after high school you stopped?
Yeah, because I started. I just started working. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I knew singing. I'm good at singing, but I don't really want to do this for the rest of my life. And went into.
But why not?
I just didn't. I didn't have the hunger. Okay. 2, I didn't have the passion.
Oh.
Yeah, and so and that was something like even growing up, my dad would push. He was very consistent, and he was like, if you're going to do this, like, start now, do it, post yourself on YouTube and stuff like that. But like I said, I wasn't hungry. And so
Sure.
I was like, why, Dad? Like, I don't want to do it, And it wasn't until I did a musical, a close friend of mine, was like, yo, X, you should audition for theater, And I auditioned for this musical in Garland called Nonsense, and I played Sister Hubert. And I hadn't done musical anything in it since I graduated high school.
Did you have to audition for it?
Yeah.
So you went up against other people for this part?
Yeah. And this wasn't because when I found it was through DFW Auditions, right, .com. And they send out auditions for the entire Metroplex, Dallas and Fort Worth, as well as cities outside of it. So it was open to everybody. And when it comes to theater, even when it comes to acting, actually, you have people who are part of the union, and then you have people who are non-union. And so I obviously was non-union. So I'm going up against people who are who've been doing this for quite some time, stuff like that. And yeah, I auditioned. They called me back and said that I got the part. And I was like, whoa, that's sick.
Well, wait a second. How many people auditioned? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
When you auditioned for it, what was the audition like? What did you have to do?
It was at this warehouse, I believe. No, it wasn't. Where was it? Mm-hmm. I think it was either in Garland or at this warehouse. But it was the director, and it was just her. And so I was like, okay. And so she was like, can you sing us a song? And I was like, okay. And I believe I sung To Worship You I Live by Israel Houghton.
Okay. What made you choose that? Do you remember why?
It was my go-to song. Because I was like, listen, if anything else, I know this one. And so I auditioned, and yeah, she was like, okay, we'll call you back, or we'll see if you even get a call back. And I was like, okay, cool. So
how did you feel after you did it?
I felt pretty
Confident?
good. Yeah, I felt good. It was just I did it. You know what I mean? It wasn't really oh, finally. It was just I did it.
Yeah.
So 2 days later, I got a call back, and they were like, hey, are you open to taking this role? And I was like, yeah. I knew nothing about the musical first thing. So when they said Sister Hubert, I was like, oh, her. That's probably the choir or something like that. And when I showed up for the first rehearsal, there was 4 other women there. And they were like, okay, y'all are our main characters. And I was like, whoa.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was like, bro. And so we started tap dancing. We did tap dancing in it. We started learning our musical numbers and singing and things like that. It was dope, though.
That is dope.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. And then you had that experience doing that, creating together. So you were following a script and everything?
Yeah. And that was something else is the only musical I had done was my senior year, and that's when I was Donkey and Shrek, the musical.
Okay.
And I just, I had a blast with that one. You know what I mean? So
right.
being able to tap back into it was a little intimidating, to be honest, because I was, 21 now?
Yeah.
And I hadn't done music in a bit. So it was I'm going up against these people who are solid. This is their life, you know?
Yeah.
And, learning everything all over again was dang, bro, I've been out the game for a minute.
Is that when you started to tapping into that passion?
Yeah. And because after that, I ended up going to college. I went to Texas College, and there I was going to study music therapy, and I wanted to specialize in intellectual disabilities. But being there, like, I had a great time. I appreciate everyone there, but I was not fulfilled, and I wasn't happy at all. Okay. You know what I mean? And so I was just like, I feel like I'm missing out. Like, there's something that is not right. You know what I mean? And so,
what do you think that is? Your intuition, or your?
Yeah, definitely. Because
You were blessed to figure that out early.
Yeah, and I
some people don't get to like their 40s and they're like, I don't know, I'm not doing what I want to do, and then they want to, you know.
But I also think it was because like I had always had courage to search. Like, I'm very curious. So if something isn't working for me, or if I feel a heavy heart, like, I don't like feeling like that. So I got to go, or I got to figure something out. So when it came to going to school, that's how I felt. I had a heavy heart, and I was like, okay, like, I don't know what's going on. I was like, but I know I'm not happy here, and I know I'm not fulfilled. So I called my choir teacher.
How long were you in school when you figured that out?
For 1 year.
Okay.
It was my second semester, and it was like...
what were you going to school for?
Music therapy.
Music therapy, okay.
Yeah, so it was... I knew that I wanted to do something within music. I just, like I said, didn't have the passion to sing and just go for it, because it was also scary. That's a huge jump.
Yeah.
But yeah, and when that second semester, I decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to give this all I got. I'm going to figure it out. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. You know what I mean? But at least I tried. And so that's when I really started like tapping into music. I would go to open mics.
I see you at a spoken word type of thing too.
Yeah, I would do spoken word. And that's funny because in church, like while I was in high school, I did a lot of spoken word too. And I would write poetry. So it was like tapping back into that. And then I decided to write my own music, because at first I would do covers. So then I started writing my own music. And the way that I started was I did it a cappella, because I didn't have like music production. I didn't know how to work any of that stuff, but I knew I had a voice and I knew how to work with it. And so when I would go to open mics, you know, and at that time too, I didn't know musicians like that. So I would go to open mics and I would just snap and get the crowd snapping, and I would just build off of that and sing a cappella.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And I remember, and I also didn't realize how big of a risk that is, because when I went to a competition and I drove out to Kentucky for a competition, and they were like, okay, like, we have Madam X coming up. And I did, and I started a cappella, and they were like, that's cool, but can you do tracks, or can you work with a band? And I was like, yeah. And so I did with a band, and I made it to the grand finale. And I walked on stage, I sung an original song, and I sung it a cappella. And they were like, you would have won, but you sung it a cappella. And I was like, in my mind, I was
better.
Right.
No, you're not hiding behind music.
Right. But to them, they were like, that's not it.
Well, did they say it's not it? Like, what was it about a cappella that makes it less better than?
Because they wanted music production. They wanted to be able, I guess, like, being able to release it under their name too. Oh. But he can't put a price on me, shawty. But it didn't work like that. So it was just like, okay, heard. But
that's a lot of confidence. I mean, talking to you from the time I met you, in general, you have a lot of confidence.
Thank you.
Like,
I appreciate that.
You're like solid person. You don't seem like you get scared easy. So, you know, to go in the finals and say, I'm going a cappella.
She did it in 4th grade when she was like, I'm going in this.
No, right.
Yeah.
Right, but it's like.
Singing Aretha.
Go hard or go home,
right?
But she's not like, I'm going to do Aretha. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm doing Aretha, a classic, you know, star.
Yeah.
So she goes big.
She goes in.
Yeah. She's either going to win big or not lose big, but, you know, she'll learn through the process.
She's going in.
She's going in. But that's confidence.
You win if you're going in anyways, because you're going in.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
So do you have anyone that you confide in or talk to that builds your confidence, or does that come from you? Does that come from God,
meditation,
church, you know, your parents, or I don't know, who gives you? You seem confident. Where does that come from? Is that from you?
Yes.
She said it confidently. Yes.
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But it's also a little bit of everything. 'Cause I didn't start off that way. You know what I mean? So like really it was my great grandmother, you know, who saw me for who I am from the very beginning. And when I would tell her, like growing up, I was like, Grandma, I want to be a singer, right? She was like, just don't sing the devil's music. And I would always be like, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I don't want to sing his song.
yeah.
Yeah, what is the devil's
Yeah,
music?
like,
Okay.
oh.
And so, and then of course, like my dad, when he would be like really pushy with it, or just really passionate, I'll say that, with being consistent and making sure that if this is what I want to do, like going hard or going home, you know, and then having him believe in me, you know, and like even along the journey, having friends who show up for me and who support, and just, you know, those times when it gets hard and I'm like, yo, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like, nah, X, like you're changing lives, bro. Like you've made it this far. You can't stop. You know what I mean? Like that helps keep my confidence. That helps keep my fire fueled, you know?
And that's helping people, motivating people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, and it also like, 'cause I'm a huge believer, like when your cup is full, you have plenty to be able to fill other people's cups, you know? And so like with having a good group of people around me who fill up my cup and who are able to see, even when it comes to like making not necessarily poor decisions, but decisions that aren't in my best interest, like talking to me and being like, hey, do you really think that's aligned with you? You know? And I love how you mentioned God, because even my spiritual journey, you know, and going to God and being like, okay, God, like I want to have confidence, but I don't want to be arrogant, and I don't want to be, I don't want to forget where I came from. You know what I mean? And like,
But
so
still be humble.
yeah. And so even that, you know, and just continuing to put myself in situations where I'm challenged to be confident, you know, and I'm challenged to show up for myself. Which is because even when I first started at open mics, I didn't invite anybody. I didn't want people to come with me because I wanted to show myself that I could do it. And so
without the support?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And some of my friends would get upset because they'd be like, X, just let me know. And I'd be like, no, I want to show up for me first before I try to depend on other people to show up for me. You know what I mean?
That's a different avenue.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a different way of doing it, but it makes sense.
So that was, yeah. And then after I started writing original music, what was it?
Was the writing easy for you to do?
Because I did poetry my entire life.
So you could just write, like it comes easy. You get writer's block sometimes, or?
Yeah. Okay. I have seasons where I just don't.
Everybody does.
Yeah. Where I just don't. And I've learned to have grace in that space too. Because at first I used to be really hard on myself, and I used to be like, you're not doing anything, you're not going anywhere. And now I'm like, just let it flow, you know? But also learning like the discipline behind that. Like, yeah, you'll have writer's block, but are you doing something to contribute to your future? Are you doing something to, especially if it's music, like, are you making, even if it's a beat, a simple beat, are you doing something?
You make beats too?
Yeah, I started producing this year. Because, like I said, I started producing with my voice, but I actually started using, like, beats to get together, so
there's two things I want to ask you. One is, when you were in the coffee shop, you were there for hours, and then I asked you what you were doing. You're like, oh, I'm just making my website. And you were just casually doing your website. Like, and you never had any training on making a website, right? Like, I don't know anyone that just makes websites that didn't get training for it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I just made a website. Look. What? That said it was like no big deal. Like, just made a website. I don't know anybody like that. But I guess those type of, with that type of talent, making beats, like she's probably going to make some fire beats.
Right. She probably has
There's people that make beats for years.
Right.
That they're not, you know, it takes time to make good beats, but then there's some people that learn quick. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you're a person that uses everything, your talent, and then somehow you piece it together to do whatever. Oh, I want to do that. I want to take a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and I'm going to apply it to this.
Yeah.
But with you saying that, like, it's also mastering what you have. Like, I think, especially nowadays, we are so accustomed and we're also taught to reach outside of ourselves to be able to accomplish either a goal or whatever we have in mind that we want to take over or conquer. But my thing was like I said, starting a cappella, I don't have this. What do I have? You know what I mean? How can I start? You know, because that's what keeps a lot of people from reaching their dreams, from reaching those next goals is like, well, where do I start? You know, you can start with where you have. If you're a poet and you don't have an audience or anything like that, you know what I mean? I would start with copywriting your stuff. That way, if you choose to go into just posting on Instagram every single day, saying your poems, they're yours and you have protection against that. You know what I mean? That way nobody else can come in and take it.
Copyright.
Yeah.
And somebody who has more connections could see your stuff and take it from you.
Because you have to realize that too, is like not everybody is blessed with gifts like that. So it's a very dog-eat-dog world, to be completely honest.
You know what I learned recently with, I don't know if you watched the Irv Gotti interview. You know who Irv Gotti is? You ever heard of Drink Champs?
Yeah.
Okay, so Irv Gotti is, he discovered Ja Rule and Ashanti. You know who Ashanti is?
Yeah, that's sick.
Anyways, it was an interview that was really crazy, but in the interview, he was talking about the masters, people's masters, and, you know, like people like, let's just say like Michael Jackson, what's his name? Paul McCartney owned Michael Jackson's masters. Wow. So
I didn't know that.
the person that owns the masters is the one that makes the money.
Yeah.
But the artist can redo the song, and then they could own that song, right? And own those masters. But by the time, like later on, when you try to redo a song, your voice, everything, and you have to change something with the beat too. Okay. So it's not the same. Yep. Just like Mariah Carey can't sing like she did back in the day. Right?
Shout out Mariah.
Shout out Mariah Carey, right? But those high notes and things that she used to do back in the 90s, she can't do. So I'm trying to, you know, that's the truth.
Yeah.
But there's a song out right now that plays a lot. It's from the show. No.
That one? From Stranger Things?
Stranger Things.
Yeah. Running up that hill.
Okay. With that song, they play a different version on the radio now. I don't know if you hear that.
I haven't heard it.
That song comes on all the time, but lately it's been coming on with, like, it's a different, it's a little bit different. And I think that has something to do with the masters and stuff.
So they have to change it a little bit.
So I think they had to re-sing it. Something happened that's different. It doesn't sound the same.
There's been a lot of Anita Baker just claimed her masters. Like, because at first she had no access to her entire catalog. Like,
how did she get to it?
She sued.
And she won?
Mm-hmm. Even, like, there's some other artists out there. Like, I remember hearing Big Sean, too, where he was speaking about, like, back pay. I forgot what you call it. But it's like when it comes to music, right, and when it comes to releasing your music, a lot of people think that it's just BMI and ASCAP. BMI and ASCAP are, like, the organizations that own your, or that give you your masters, as well as, like, register your lyrics and stuff, right? But it's also, there's other, I believe it's Song Trust, and that hits for your royalties outside of the States for international. So it's like you can go with ASCAP and BMI, but also educate yourself on other platforms that allow you to collect your royalties from
like iTunes and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or like other...
Well, yeah. You have iTunes, you have your Spotify, your Amazon Music, stuff like that, which are just, those are just musical platforms that put your music out, right?
Sure.
Make it available for the public to hear.
Right.
But when it comes to collecting your money, collecting your royalties, educate yourself on other websites or other platforms that will collect those royalties for you.
Oh, right. Right.
And then like copywriting with the government is to cover your publishing, cover your lyrics.
I think that with what you're saying, the newer generation of people that are artists, they know more
They're pretty smart.
and understand more about the business.
Yeah.
So that's why, they could make a lot more money than artists back in the day that didn't know.
Right.
And even that, like, it's a lot more independent artists. Like, even artists, your Frank Ocean, he was signed. And then after he realized, like, the game, you know what I mean, and not being able to collect his money and stuff like that, like, that's when he went independent. Drake, he's independent, And so it's like, once you have a...
But wait a second. Drake is independent?
Yeah, Uvu Records.
OVO, but OVO is
OVO,
under Universal.
Is it? So what kind of deal is it though? Because Russ is the same. Russ started as independent, and then he did I believe a 360 deal with Capitol Records. So it depends on the deal because you can have.
Because I heard a 360 is a bad deal. That means anytime you go do concerts or anything, they get proceeds they get money from that. That's anything you do 360 is, from what I understand, what I hear is that's not a good deal. But Drake, I think, is still under Baby. Baby is Universal. Baby discovered. Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, Drake, they're all under Baby.
Is that what Young Money?
Yeah.
Young Money's under Baby?
No. Baby owns Young Money.
That's wild.
No, Baby owns Cash Money, right? Cash Money Records. Young Money is under Cash Money.
Right.
It's like a branch
That's
off.
wild.
So Baby, Birdman.
Yeah.
You probably know it's Birdman, but yeah, he owns.
Oh, Heard. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that Birdman was Baby.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Birdman is Baby.
You're educating me.
Yeah, sorry. Birdman, because I got to remember.
Generations.
Birdman is Baby.
Yeah.
And Birdman has been with Universal 23 years.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, on one of his interviews, he's made $2 billion, and he split $1 billion between Lil Wayne, Nicki, and Drake. And they said, Drake, isn't Drake? And Nori said this, is Drake independent? Or is Drake still? He's like, Drake is signed for life. And then that's when the other guy was like, wow, that's a long time.
Life is pretty much a long time.
So I don't know the total ins and outs about that, but he's on Universal.
Wow.
That's scary. Like, listening to that's scary because it's like even Summer Walker, she got herself into a really bad deal. Like, you have some artists who don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. And so anytime if you have someone coming to you saying like, yo, I would love to really exploit you for your talent, but I'll give you $2 million up front. Would you sign to my record label? And you're like, that'll change not only my life, but my entire family's life. Like, yeah I'll do it. Right. And so you get signed. Then you realize that the money that was up front or the advance was really a loan, and you got to be sure that you're working twice as hard so that your record sales can
when
make
you find out how fast you can spend it.
Yeah.
But right now with the internet and with all the horror stories, you shouldn't be signing anything without a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Even without the education, even if you don't have a lawyer, educating yourself. Knowledge is power, bro.
Yeah.
Somebody comes to you with $2 million, you need to review that contract.
100%.
Like, it sounds too good to be true.
It might be.
You know what I mean? So, but let me ask you, what's behind your music? Your video it's called Sun and Kisses.
The Sun and Her Kisses, yeah.
What is that about? Is that about nature? I've seen you out there walking, picking flowers, drinking wine.
When we started filming that, my videographer, shout out to Sway. Sway was my videographer.
Shout out to Sway.
Hey,
he was like, drink the wine. I was like, I don't want to drink the wine. He was like, listen, madam, drink the wine. It's for the video. And so in the video, I'm just like, you know what I mean? Right. So the Sun and Her Kisses.
So it was real wine. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was red wine.
It wasn't Kool-Aid in a wine glass.
Okay. And we filmed it at the Arboretum, the Dallas Arboretum.
Okay.
And we just had like towels. One of my really close friends came out, and Mrs. Mad Hat, and she put out like towels and set everything up. But The Sun and Her Kisses, I went to the same coffee shop we met, and I was sitting there one day, and I was like, it was cloudy. I love rain and I love clouds, but for some reason that day I was just not feeling it. And I was like, just thinking, and I was trying to create, but I just wasn't in that space. And I remember saying to myself, I was like, man, I wish I felt better. And as soon as I said that, the sun came out of the clouds and shined on me. And like, as soon as it did that, I felt inspired. I felt good. And so I just remember like humming, Sun and Her Kisses. And I was like, man, I like that. And so I was like, how does it make me feel? I was like, something as simple and sweet, she fills me up.
Ooh, nice.
And so
goosebumps.
And I just started with the beat. I started making the beat on my laptop, and I got home and I finished the first verse and the chorus, but it was the second verse that I couldn't stop. Like, I couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, and then the song, and this is with my songs, period. Like, it starts off with one idea or one intention, and then it transforms to something else. So that's why the second verse was like, sometimes she could be furious, but her rays may burn. If you step too close, you'll never know. Don't dim, for the moon still shines too. Euphoric, sacred in her divine energy. And then it was like, that's when I know.
That's deep.
I know. I'm trying to follow. I'm like, okay.
And that's when I turned it to myself, and I was like, that's how I feel about myself. Like, there are days where I'm not my best, or if you step too close, like, be prepared. You know what I mean? But it's still.
I did feel that double meaning or triple entendres or something was going on there, because I was like, is this a relationship? But it is a relationship, but it's the sun, but it's light. I don't know.
It can be. It can. I guess
however
it's
take
interpret.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's the grand. A lot of my music, like I said, is written from, like my song "Healing." That was written from that was a freestyle, and it was written from a place of pain. You know, but a lot of people have told me they've listened to it and they feel healed. They feel good, and I'm like, really? Because that's wild. You know what I mean? Like,
That's good.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
a blessing.
like with any art. When people say, you know, what does this mean? And you're like, whatever it means to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to take away your message. If that's whatever you get from it.
how
Yeah.
you
You
receive
don't
it.
want to. You don't want to sway anybody.
Yeah, you don't
to-
want to limit someone's
Yeah.
feeling on.
How does it make? Like you said, you know, how did it make you feel? Mm-hmm. So, and then you put it into words. But someone else, how does it make you feel when you listen to it? It's whatever you want it to be.
As an example, I like rock music, right?
That's what's up. Okay.
And some of the rock that I might be listening to, it sounds like noise, and it gives you
Sounds like
a headache.
screaming to me.
Sounds-
Why is everybody angry?
right. But when I listen to it, I feel good listening to it. So that's an example of
Right.
the same song you're taking
It's
one way.
not my idea of Zen.
Right.
It's
Right.
not what I'm going to meditate to.
What
No.
kind of rock music do you listen to?
The noisy kind. No, I'm just
I mean, it's not.
I'm just
It's just like I put it on. Like I like that station 103.7.
Okay.
I like that. So it's like on Pandora, I'll put in Stain,
Okay.
and like Linkin Park and things like that will come up.
I used to bop hard to Linkin Park when I was younger.
Yeah,
I went through a whole phase.
yeah, there's-
Actually, it's still a phase because I'm still in it.
yeah. And I think that provides, because I'm into, like I noticed I'm into like heavy, like that kind of stuff, rock. But then I'm into battle rap. Anyone that knows me, I'm
Yeah,
into
ciphers and
That's what he's really into.
lyrical
that's sick.
assaults.
Right.
It's
That's
got to
what-
be,
that's
the
what
beat's
he's
got to be
really
hard.
into.
You know, so I have these different ranges. So, yeah. So interpretation of music is different depending on
Yeah.
who
Who's
you
listening.
are.
And
who's
yeah, like I
listening.
said, it's with all art. You know what I mean? People say, you know, what does a painting mean? And what does it mean to you? You know, same thing with songs, with rap, or even with music without words.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's
that's-
just what is it? Whatever it makes you feel, just go with it.
I used to always
Like it,
need
like it.
words when it came to listening to music, and now I love instrumentals.
Yeah.
I will put on an instrumental in a heartbeat.
Yes. You can kind of do
It's
what
just-
you want with it.
Yeah, it's just something, you know. For me, at least, I can't say what it's gonna do for everyone else, but it's
Yeah.
just something relaxing.
Yeah.
It's just more of a calm down, and
Right.
you know.
Speaking about the sun and the sun rays, So through time in our marriage, we learned a lot about ourselves. We still learn a lot about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Right. So she's a sun person.
I am.
Like,
That's beautiful.
she loves the rays. She goes out and gets a tan. The sun gives her energy,
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
makes her happy.
Yes.
I stay out of the sun. I stay in the shade. I'm not a sun person.
I told you, yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun, no. But I do like the wind.
And I like the breeze also. I do. Don't limit me to just the sun.
I'm not gonna limit you. I can't limit you. I can't put you in the box.
Come
Don't
on.
ever do that. I break through every time.
Okay.
Every time.
That's
So,
dope.
no, but yeah, that song's powerful with what you were saying. So,
Thank you.
is that one of your top ones that you've done? I mean, you have written different songs, but is that one of your top ones that people might know or that people like? I mean, I don't know your whole catalog, but would you say that was one of your top ones, or?
It's becoming my top one.
Okay.
Before that, it's my song On Me, which
Okay.
is, I built that one a cappella. That was my first one I dropped
Okay.
when I lived in Atlanta. And then my second one is Healing. And
Okay.
that one I dropped, and that's like a way more like neo soul type of vibe.
Neo soul.
Yeah.
I like neo soul. Because
Okay.
neo soul, and I was going to ask you, Musiq Soulchild,
Yes, absolutely. I love
neo soul, right?
Jill Scott.
Jill Scott.
I like
Who else is some neo soul people? Not
bad with names.
Maxwell, right? Maxwell.
Oh, I love
Come
me
on,
some
man.
Maxwell's
Yes.
neo soul.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
Yes, that's neo soul.
Yes.
Maxwell, that's early 2000s right there.
It sure is.
That's the good old days right there.
Question, just so
Yes.
everybody knows, because I'm sure you gained everybody's curiosity. Where can they find your music?
Yeah, so you can find me on Spotify under Madam X. That is MADAMEX.
Okay.
You can find me on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Tidal. You can find me also on Instagram, Madam X Creations, MADAMEXCREATIONS.
Nice.
That sounded good right there.
Right?
Sounded soothing.
Might want to replay that.
Coming to you
what
live. No,
That's what I'm gonna start doing, singing my my Instagram
please.
podcast. And where was I? I was gonna ask you another question. Oh, Madam X, do people before they meet you think you're gonna be an old lady or something?
Define that.
Because
Madam. That's what he's thinking, yeah.
it seems like it's gonna be like when I told my wife about I'm gonna interview Madam X, and I said, yeah, but she's a young girl though,
Yeah.
right?
I was like, oh.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know what she thought, but for some reason when I say Madam, I think of old.
Yeah, right.
So that's
Right?
why it's like, do people think you're old before they meet you because of your name?
Well, I guess they're not telling you, but anyway, go ahead. You
No.
can answer the question.
It's different. When they first meet me and I say my name is Madam X, it's like, they're like, oh. But it's not in the case of like, that's old. They're like, I like that name. It's really powerful. And I'm
It
like,
really is.
thank you. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? So I get responses like that. I haven't had someone be like, that's an old name.
Well, what I think it, Madam, we do associate with being older, but I think with the Madam X, when you think of powerful, you don't think of someone young, right? Like if you think of somebody powerful, you think they're older, more mature, not an old lady like, but just
Old soul.
mature,
Yeah.
strong, just
True.
Madam.
Self-assured.
True.
You know,
But every Madam I've ever heard of is, in my mind, old or older. Maybe growing up, it was just like Madam, you know.
Yeah.
It's like this, calling somebody ma'am, and this is just me. Yes, ma'am. You're assuming that you're talking to someone older than you. You're not going to talk to someone younger than you and call them yes,
but
ma'am.
that's also a South,
A Southern
North
thing?
type of thing, because in New York, we didn't call anyone ma'am, right?
Wow.
We didn't call anybody ma'am. It was just, miss. Excuse me, miss.
Right, but when you think of ma'am, even though you're from New York, ma'am, does that come up? Does that sound like a young person?
No, it does sound like an older woman. Yeah,
yeah.
Not so much older lady, but just an older woman. If you're, if you're a teenager, you're thinking someone older than 30. You know,
it's funny too because when I was like 15, like I said, my family would call me madam, so I would look up what madam meant. Madam's also a female pimp. So every
right,
every
I
time,
didn't want to say that.
I would be like, if like my dad was like, madam, I'd be like, yeah, I'm a female pimp, keep my hoes in check. And he'd be like, okay, madam, like, go clean the dishes, like, relax.
Tone all that down.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
Are we? Can I say that?
No, you can say that.
He can edit also.
You brought up something, and it just reminded me of something. They may not necessarily go together, but you said, keep your hoes in check because madam is this. So when we were talking in the coffee shop, we talked about discovering when you started liking women.
Yeah.
Right?
Your sexuality.
Yeah.
Right? And that's when I was telling you I interviewed my friend Savory, who is Savory. You guys could check that interview out. It's out already. But you were explaining how I was saying you can't help the way you feel.
Yeah.
And then I was saying that because you said you were attracted, you thought guys were cute.
Yeah.
But you weren't really attracted to them.
Yeah,
Explain that. Sorry.
I admire men, and I think that men are beautiful. You know what I mean? Physique and just thoughts or mentality. What am I trying to say? But when it comes to having an emotional connection or being, feeling safe enough to be vulnerable in that space, or intimate, I don't feel that way. I don't feel that connection.
And you've never felt that way?
No. And I realized that, like, first time I ever kissed a boy, I believe I was 13.
Right.
And we kissed.
Sorry, Dad.
And he asked,
that was right before that performance.
and
14, yeah.
he was like, so, like, how do you feel? I was like, you're not the one. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, there was no spark. You're not it.
That was not it.
Man, now he's messed up for life.
I was just gonna say.
No, but for real, because when I was 18, he saw me on the bus, and he, like, texted me, and he was like, hey, you remember me? Like, this. And then he was like, I'm still in love with you. I was like, you haven't met me since I was 13. He was like, but I know you're the same person. I was like, but I'm not. Like, relax, bro.
I'm not. No.
She has a powerful kiss. He's still mesmerized by it.
Ooh.
That's the effect. That's the impact. Confidence.
So, ladies, you know where you can find her, right?
No, because she's in a relationship.
Oh,
I am?
Well, I thought she was.
I'm not. I'm
you know
not.
what? Okay, we'll just stay.
Listen, y'all.
Only because from the last time we spoke, did anything change?
No.
Maybe I misunderstood.
What was?
Because I thought you were with somebody.
No,
I was
interested.
Is that you backpedaling?
I'm nervous. That's my nervous talk.
Interested in someone, having conversations with that person, but haven't made it official or haven't even dipped into that side of things.
Sure. Now, where do you see you believe in love? That's a fact, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Have you ever been in love before?
Yes.
Do you remember how old you were?
21.
Whoa, that's just 5 years ago.
Yeah. First, okay, so you know how they say, like, you have puppy love and then, like, the real deal and all that stuff? Mm-hmm. So, like, I remember when...
Wait, there's puppy love, the real deal? And
then there's all that stuff.
From what they say, or from what I've read, like, there's puppy love, which is, like, well, in my experience, I was in love with this dude, right? And I was like, oh, my God. Didn't know nothing, he knew me, but no, nothing of that. And so it was just built off of fantasy for me. And eventually I was like, oh, thank God. Like, you're not it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when I turned 21, that's when I fell in love, or chose to love. And that was the first like relationship I had with a woman. And that like changed my entire game. Well, not game, but my entire mindset on love, as well as how I viewed myself, you know, how I viewed that person, how I viewed my family. Because my family, I grew up in a Pentecostal home, you know what I mean? So that's not, you know, that's not it. Yeah. And my family watched me during that relationship, you know, and even having, and of course, like I understood, like at that time, they're coming from a place of protection.
Yeah.
Of course. And also coming from who they knew their little girl to be, you know, so it was very much like, that's not you, you know, you're not gay, you're not comfortable with women, things like that.
Going through a phase.
Right. And at that time, like I believed it, right? Until I really started to sit with myself and really started to understand, like, no, this isn't the first time. Like, it was actually, I've been doing it even when I was a little girl, you know what I mean? And this is just the first reciprocated relationship that I'm in, where it's mutual and not just someone, you know, me sharing that with someone and being like, yeah, like, can I kiss you? And then being like, I'm not into girls. And me be like, yeah, me neither. Cool. You know what I mean? Right. But yeah, like, yeah, so 21 was the first time I chose to love somebody fully. And I learned so much about myself in that relationship. I realized how much shame I had, how much, of course, criticism and judgment, but it also taught me how cruel I could be. You know what I mean?
How cruel you could be?
Yeah, because, and of course, like, don't get me wrong, like, the other person wasn't on their P's and Q's either, you know, like, but it showed me how when someone would do something to me, like how spiteful and vindictive I can be, you know, and that tit for tat mentality, and just also just, I didn't realize like I could be verbally abusive, you know, to an extent, not calling them out of their name or anything like that, but it would be, you know, in the small things of comparison, you know.
It's in passion, out of passion.
Yeah, and it's like, once I stepped away from that relationship and really started to grow and heal on my own, I noticed a lot of areas that need to be cleaned up. You know what I mean? Or that needed to be nourished and loved, right?
Yeah. That's called
growth. And it's like, I also had to come to the realization, like, how can you be singing about love, but you don't embody love either? Yeah. Of course, you can be a human and make mistakes, which I do and I am. However, I always want to be sure that I'm returning to love, you know? And so one of my really good friends helped me to realize, she was like, you know, X, you lead with love, you move in love, and you leave with love if necessary, you know? Yeah. But you never want to just put yourself in a position to where you're operating out of hurt or you're operating out of hate, which is what we do. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you don't know better, you don't do it. Yeah.
When you're hurt.
And if you also haven't been exposed to something that's true and real, you don't think of anything less than, you know? Yeah. Or there could be a possibility of something more being out there.
You know, what I've heard is if someone can make you smile, they can also make you cry.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just another way of saying, you know, the only people that could get to you is the people that you love. You know, the people that you let in. Yeah. You know, they always have the power to, they have the ability to hurt you.
If you let them.
Yeah. And well, because you let them in. You let them in with, you know, love, because they're in, and they're the people that you make exceptions for, and now your guards are down. So now, because your guards are down, they have the capability of hurting you.
Yeah.
Because your guards are down, because you love them, you let them in.
And I think that's another side of love that we don't talk about, right?
Yeah.
We have all the glitz and glamour, all the good things, but love can hurt, bro. Like,
it can,
and it can shatter you. You know what I mean? And I think that, and in my mind, like, I see different levels of love. You know what I mean? Like, of course, you have your agape, which is equivalent, or which is your unconditional love, right?
Okay.
And then you also have loves that are under that, which I think you have, okay, so for example, and this is no offense to anybody, if you've been in an abusive relationship, right? At that time, that's what you believe love to be. Right? Because it's like this, I may never have someone who will love me like this anymore. You know what I mean? Until you allow yourself to experience something better. And then once you experience better, then you realize that wasn't love. You know what I mean? I don't know what that was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when somebody's in an abusive relationship, that person who, it never starts out like all the way abusive, you know, so they break you down through time, then you become that person who says, well, he loves me, or whatever it is that they say when, you know, with their self-esteem is down.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's that. I don't even know why I brought that up. So, something triggered there, but...
If you want to talk, baby, we could talk about your past.
It's truth. It's truth, though, and it starts, like you said, it starts with little things, you know. Yeah. It can start with something as simple as... like I said, comparison, you know, if you were to say, you know, this outfit make me look cute. Yeah, but not as cute as it did on my ex, you know? And it's like, maybe if you don't catch it, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. You know, you're in a mood. Or it could be something as simple as you're eating. Man, that's a lot of food. You want to eat all that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Do you want to work out after? Or, you know? Yeah. And then it graduates, you know, and before you know it, like, you are being disrespected, but you're so deep in it that you feel like there's no way out. You feel trapped, and I've been there before. Yeah,
when you're in it and you've been through it, people that have not been through it, it's hard for them to comprehend it. You know, it sounds easy just to say, hey, just get out the relationship, or just you don't have to take that, but it's not that easy when it's happening slowly, or little things here and there, and then it gets worse.
That's where I was going with that. And slowly.
Yeah, and it's because you find it's just like, well, hold on. It can be equivalent to doing drugs, right? Once you've experienced that first high,
that's true.
You want to keep going back, you know, and you're not realizing you're digging yourself into a deeper hole, you know. And like I said, yeah, it for me, it wasn't just me. Like, I remember one of my friends telling me about therapy and things like that, and they said the abuser or the abused becomes the abuser, right? If you stay in that connection long enough.
Right, they say that.
And that's what I had become, you know. And it came to a point where I was like, listen, like, I had felt, drained, like, exhausted. And I was like, I can't do this anymore, you know? Yeah. I don't want to do this anymore, you know? Because then I feel like when it comes to that, you have to look at self-love, you know? Do you love yourself enough to say, no, you can't treat me that way anymore? Or, you know what? Yeah, this isn't it. And walk away. And I think that takes so much strength, courage, you know what I mean? Trust within yourself, you know?
Now that you've passed that, and you sound like you've grown a lot since that relationship. Are you friends with that person?
I am.
Okay. And has that person grown too? Are they better?
Yes. And I'm thankful that you even mentioned that, because, and I do understand this doesn't happen in all relationships. Yeah. Or even friendships, and I don't want to put false hope out there like that. You know what I mean? It takes two. So just as much as I was doing the work and seeing my faults and seeing where I could have been better and where I can be better, and, you know, like I said, healing, that person was doing the exact same thing, you know? And eventually, with time, you know, we were able to come back and talk to each other about the entire relationship and determine if this is where we should go or should we just be friends, you know? And we decided to just be friends, you know? Now, is the love there? Yes. But will it be healthy I'll speak for myself, will it be healthy for where I'm at right now to return to that relationship? Not right now. that's not my best interest, and that's not my focus either. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It sure does.
It does make sense.
It makes sense, and there's a lot of maturity.
Thank you.
However,
It's a lot of maturity.
I think like you have to move on.
Yeah.
Like if I love somebody, you know, I don't want to be friends after. I'm trying to forget. Sorry, I keep doing that. I'm trying to move on. Yeah. I'm trying to recover. I'm trying to go somewhere else and leave that in the past. Me, you know. So I always wonder like what people do, and everyone's different. Yeah. So that's why I asked the question: if you're still friends.
The lesson was taught.
Yeah.
So now it's time to, you know, then you can still be friends, you know, some people.
Yeah.
You can still be friends.
Well, we're not enemies, but I'm saying, what is friends, though? I don't even know what that means. That could mean call each other. That means we hang out. That could be we're friends whenever we see each other.
To each his own.
Yeah.
Each his own. But the point is, you know, some people, you know, what they call double dipping, they go back or whatever. But it's just the lesson was taught. In her case, the lesson was taught, and they could be around each other. Yeah. If they wanted to.
Yeah.
And of course, like boundaries and communication and understanding, like where, and it also matters, like if the person or if you guys realize that you guys aren't over each other completely, but y'all got two different things going on, you know what I mean? I definitely think, like, maybe not now, you know what I mean? Because, you don't want to, and you don't want to have sticky situations, you know? If the friendship, and that's another thing, like, if the friendship is real, if the love is real, like, it'll come back around, you know? Yeah. If it's not, then that's okay. You take that lesson, you understand what you could do better, and you move forward, you know? But yeah, that's my view. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say sometimes with, you know, I see it with guys sometimes, but when they like, let's just say they mess up with their girlfriends or wives or whatever, and then like they mess up so bad that the wife or girlfriend doesn't take them back, but they're like crying or they're pleading, right?
Right.
They're like, please. Won't happen again. I promise I'll change. Right? They do all that.
Is that the voice they use?
That's what it sounds like, right? So they, when that happens, when the woman doesn't take them back, really that woman is making him better for the next relationship.
It's true.
Because then the next relationship, he's good, and she's like, he wasn't like that when he was with me.
Yeah.
He's a whole different dude.
Yeah, because he's learned. It's part of the lesson.
Yeah, and that also, once again, shows, like, where you are within yourself. You know what I mean? Like, to be able to have the strength to say, like, I'm making you better for the next person. And to not be bitter or to even have... That's another thing with the culture, bro. Or I'm not saying... Well, yes, I am.
Let's get into
like,
it.
Not only the culture, but just society as a whole. Like, building this mentality of hate and jealousy and envy to be like, well, you know, that person ain't never going to be the way they were with me, or you'll never find anyone like me. You know what I mean? I used to have that mentality, and I was like, man, I hope you find someone who's better. I hope that the person you do find is able to love you in the way that maybe I wasn't. You know what I mean? Or maybe you are able to love yourself in the way that you weren't with me. You know, like, move on with grace, bro.
That's hurt. That's hurt.
Yeah.
That's hurt. People, you know, this is hurt.
And I just want to bring this up with the Irv Gotti. You're correct. Mm-hmm. With the Irv Gotti interview that everybody's seen, it thing got like 3 million views in like 3 days.
I haven't seen it.
I'll have to check it out.
Anyways, he was with Ashanti. Like he found. He discovered like.
Oh, I saw the clip. I didn't know
he was married, right?
Yeah.
And wasn't he married?
He was married. No, he was married.
Did I say something wrong?
Put the business out there.
No, you could.
The look you gave me, I was
No, he was married.
You have to edit?
No. I just didn't know the timeline.
Right.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he was married.
That's the ad that I read, but I didn't click on it.
Right.
Go ahead.
So he is talking about sexual relations he's had with Ashanti, which nobody knew about. He's on a podcast publicly.
No?
There's rumors.
Oh, but okay, gotcha.
but he's never said it.
Right, and she's never said it.
This guy's going into the details, right? The details about Ashanti, right? Going in on her. And that's where people had a problem. But Nori was like, he's like, that was back then. And, and he kind of, not that he said he got over it, but he was explaining it in a way. But Nori said, well, 20 years later, it sounds like you're still haven't got over it, right? Because it wasn't with love. Remember, you said you want someone to move on with love and they want the best.
He sounds so bitter.
He was
still passionate about it.
He was still right there in 2002, you know what I'm saying? And
Ashanti was
so
impactful.
That was an example of what you said. Huh? What'd you say?
Ashanti was impactful, I guess.
Okay.
Shout out, girl. No.
Yeah.
One love quitter. Okay.
Yeah. So he's looking crazy on the podcast, but definitely because even Joe, I keep doing that.
You're good.
Even Joe Budden was talking about. He's like, I clicked on it by accident. That thing's like 3 hours.
Wow.
He's like, it was so interesting that I watched the whole thing.
Wow.
So, anyways, but yeah, move on with grace.
Yeah.
And if you're bitter, it's gonna show by what you say and your actions.
But I think people don't know that.
Of course, they don't.
If they're not tapped into themselves like that, nah.
Yeah, because you hear it more time than not that people, when they say, bad things about the ex or whatever, or baby daddies or exes, whatever, a lot of times they talk out of passion, and it's negatively, and they're not even realize that it tells everything about themselves.
Yeah.
That's how
you know what I'm saying.
That's how deep of a condition they're in that they don't know, and that's the thing. That's the way things are, man. But it's good to hear that you are spreading knowledge, and that name, Madam.
Yeah, you're pretty mature, man.
I think it fits you because you definitely have a big aura about you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It sounds like you learn. Like some people don't learn.
Right.
They repeat.
Some people don't learn.
Yeah, there's an example. Some people don't learn. I'm one of those people in some cases. But when you don't learn, you keep repeating the same thing.
Yeah.
What was it that someone told me recently? I'm going to try to remember next time. But it has something to do with learning. It said, like, people that, let's say, are not smart. I don't know how it was said, but, repeat the things and expect different results.
That was a long time ago.
Insanity.
Right, and then there's
the
three things.
definition of insanity, right?
But there's three things, and then, like, if you're not smart, but then they said smart people learn from their mistakes, or they learn through whatever, and then they were saying wise people learn from examples of other people. Like they learn without going through it.
Right, they don't have to go through it.
They do a lot of listening, or they're like, wait a second, I don't want to go through that. I'm paying attention to that. I'm avoiding that.
Yep.
But
Yeah, you gotta fall before you can fly, I guess, and be okay with that.
For some people,
yeah.
But what he's saying is, if you're super wise, you can learn off of other people's mistakes.
True, and not do that.
Yeah, I think those people live in fear, though. They're afraid to make any mistakes, so they're just.
And that goes to having an abundant mindset or a scarce mindset. You know what I mean? Like, I think having an abundant mindset, like I said, because I think with this, or I believe with this, the way that society builds you is that you will never find anyone else. You will never, there's no fish in the sea. You know what I mean? What you got is the best that you got, and that's it. You know what I mean? And I think that falls into, like you said, having a fear, scarce mindset. But having an abundant mindset is there's plentiful. There's no need to feel as if the person that I had who may not have been the best for me, that's all I'm going to ever get. And that also falls into your root. You know what I mean? Do you believe you're deserving? Do you believe that you are enough for greater, for better? And that's really what it is yes, it is fear, and it's also not taking the time to find the root of the issue. Speaking down on people isn't about them. It's the fact that you feel inadequate about yourself.
Amen.
I know.
That's a big one.
Being negative towards others isn't about what they did to you, but it's the fact that maybe you didn't have a boundary or feel like you had a voice to say stop. You know what I mean? Like, it's a reflection of who you really are or who you choose to be, and realizing that you can change. But if you operate out of fear, you don't think you can change. You think that's it.
That's powerful. Let me ask you a question. Do you want kids?
Down the line, I think we spoke about this. Down the line, I'm open to it. Because
I think you'd be a good parent. That's why.
Yeah, and it's so funny you say that, because me and a friend were talking about nurturers, right? And we were speaking about divine feminine energy and things of that nature. And they were saying, like, X, I think that even if you chose to not have kids, you would still be able to be a nurturer to, whether it's your partner, whether it's to the human race. Like, you would be able to exercise that motherly quality you have to
That's true.
those other than just your own child. And so, and I was like, I agree. But like I said, when I was 18, I was like, I'm gonna have 3 kids. I had their names. I was showing random people pictures of these. Girl, look, I was crazy. Anyway. But now I'm like, man, I want to soar in my career. And even when I get married, because I do want to get married, I want me and my partner to live, you know, like to travel, to see the world, things of that nature before we decide to have kids, you know, because I remember, like, my family, my mom telling me, you know, she was like, having kids, you know, I didn't want kids growing up, you know, she was like, but having kids was the best decision for me, you know, without me even realizing it.
Right.
And she's like, but I do want you to understand you have the power to change the narrative, you know, and that falls into breaking generational curses. Like, me pursuing music, you know, is a generational curse that's been broken for my family, because all the women in my family have only known to work, you know, and be in that survival mode. And I don't want to live that like that, you know. I want us to be able to have options, you know, and to be able to know that you really can make a living off of your dream, you know. But yeah, like, my great-grandmother had her first child when she was 13. My grandmother had hers when she was 16. My mom had me when she was 21, you know, and it's a blessing that I've made it to 26 without any kids, you know. And that's something, like, I keep in mind, you know, is like the way I want to live my life, but also when it comes to union and having a partner, how we want to live together before we decide to really settle down. Like, and that's something I really want people to understand. Whatever age you're in, there's no rush. Like, relax. What is meant for you will come, you know, if it's not already there. And I think, once again, we get so caught up in this idea, because I get in it too, where I'm like, oh, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, or I haven't accomplished this, you know. And it's like, when I was in Chicago last month, that's when I really, like, sat down and realized, like, how much self-doubt I had, you know. And it's funny because I wanted everyone to go with me to that show, because I had 2 shows in Chicago. And it ended up working out to where I had to go by myself. And there was so much intention and so much of a blessing in that, because when I went by myself, I met 2 women whose names were Faith, 2 women whose names were Grace, and everywhere I looked, there was something about love. And
was there 2 Madam X's?
No.
Oh.
Honey, there's only one Madam X.
Okay.
But at the end of my trip, I sat down and I just wrote those words out. And I was like, what does this mean to me? You know, being graceful to myself, understanding that I've come a long way and I've accomplished so much for myself, and that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, there's no need for me to go outside of myself to do more than what I've already done. Can I have dreams and ambitions and drive? Yes. But not allowing it to cripple me, allowing it to grow me, allowing it to show me, you know, what else can I accomplish, you know? And then faith is the belief in things unseen, right? Just because it's not tangible to you yet does not mean it's not on its way, you know, claiming victory and speaking as if you already have it.
The universe, yeah.
Facts. And then love, like I said, you lead with love, you move in love, you leave with love. You know, and really, that's something that I strive to reflect, is unconditional love, you know. And do I accomplish it? No. But the times that I do, I celebrate. And I'm like, that's awesome. Okay, let's move forward.
Nice. Madam X, we got to thank you for all these powerful words, your powerful presence, your stories. Being young as you are, sitting with us, I feel like you're like with us like at our age, but it goes to show that age doesn't necessarily mean that anything, you know, because she's here hanging with us. You know, when we were 26, I don't know if we'd be able to hang with her though. But you know, the good thing is, you know, you decided to come here, do this. You know, this is basically our second time meeting, right?
Yes, and I'm so freaking honored to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming through. We're gonna follow your career. We're gonna follow your next, you know, your next performance, wherever it is. Hopefully it's in Dallas and not in, you know, in another state.
Right. Yeah, it's tomorrow actually. I'm performing at an open mic called Bistro B something.
Tell the people where is it going to be?
It's
at
in
Bistro
Dallas.
It's in Dallas. Well, actually, you don't need to tell the people because it's not going to come out tomorrow.
I was thinking that, but I was.
But listen, we're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
We're going to go check you out. Please. We're going to go tomorrow and see you. I'm going to go there with a camera, look at you and everything. And this is all happening. Starting with love, you lead with love. It feels good.
And then you leave with love.
And you lead with love. So on that note, I am Rodism Podcast. Anybody want to plug their social medias? You want to say anything? No? Okay.
You can follow my artwork at Amateur Art by Lee on Instagram.
Yes.
And what about you, Madam X?
You can follow me on Instagram at Madam X Creations. That's MADAME capital X CREATIONS.
Okay, mine wasn't that nice.
Wait, I should have went before her. I am Rodism. All right, we're out.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Something as simple and sweet, she fills me up. Breath of life, full of relief. To me, she is enough. No, I'm not trying to be complicated, but her love is just so underrated. No, I'm not trying to be complicated. She's enough. Her love steady and so pure. The sun and her kisses lift me up. Always keeps me warm. Always keeps me warm. The sun and her kisses. She's enough. Breath of life reassured. The sun and her kisses lift me up, always keep me warm. The sun